History tells the story of the world and of our lives. Sometimes that history goes bump in the night. Broadcasting from the center of oddity and the supernatural in Central Florida, it's the History Goes Bump podcast.
Hello, you spooktacular people. Welcome to History Goes Bump Redux. I am your host, Diane.
And this is Callie.
Kelly, we're going to go back to another location that we covered back in 2016. And at the time, it had a different name. It was the Ben Lomond Hotel. Now it's known as the Bigelow. So we have both the names in the title. And we'll be updating it on this episode and sharing the history and haunts. Are you ready to go back to this location in Utah?
I'm ready. The Ben Lomond Hotel is now known as the Bigelow Hotel and Residences and is located in the historic downtown of Ogden, Utah. When we did our original episode in 2016, this was one of the last 3 grand hotels in Utah that still operated as a hotel. That ended in 2019 when the building was reopened as apartments. Built in the latter part of the Victorian era, the hotel has changed over time. Ogden was a major railroad junction and brought people from all over. And while a hotel that is now residences is meant to be a place of comfort, the Bigelow-Ben Lomond seems to be a place of death, and this has led to stories of strange happenings. Join us as we explore the history and hauntings of the Bigelow-Ben Lomond Hotel.
The city of Ogden is in what is known as the Great Basin, which is the largest contiguous endorheic watershed in North America. Endorheic means that it is closed and does not flow out into rivers, but rather forms lakes. Since these watersheds are filled by rain, they tend to be arid places. To give the listeners an idea of an endorheic landscape, so Kelly, you know the salt flat where they set speed records and such?
Sure.
That's the kind of landscape that this is.
Gotcha.
Because of the lack of precipitation, people had to be hardy to live here. The first known groups here were the Fremont culture. Numic language speakers followed, and this indigenous group would become our present-day Western Shoshone and Paiute tribes. Great Basin was home to the Utes' bear dance, and 2 Paiute tribal elders introduced our favorite named dance, the ghost dance.
Excellent.
It is believed that when this dance is done properly, the spirits of the dead can be reunited with the living. There was a primary reason for this dance's creation, and that was that the native people believed that the dead would fight on their behalf and help drive white settlers off the land. This is interesting to consider when looking at hauntings. Many times we talk about native burial grounds causing hauntings, but what if rituals have spawned these hauntings dating back centuries?
The first European settlers in the area built Fort Buenaventura in 1846. A trapper named Miles Goodyear established the permanent settlement, and it served as a trading post. Mormon settlers bought the property in 1847, and it was renamed Brownsville after Captain James Brown. The name Ogden would follow, and the name was chosen in honor of Hudson Bay Company's brigade leader Peter Skene Ogden, who had been an early trapper here and was a Canadian explorer. By 1869, Ogden became a railroad hub of commerce and travel when the Transcontinental Railroad was built. The city's motto was, "You can't get anywhere without coming to Ogden." Ogden would eventually grow to become the second largest city in the state of Utah.
In 1891, the 5-story Reed Hotel was built in Ogden. The ground floor of the hotel was occupied by the Ogden State Bank, which was owned by A.P. Bigelow. Bigelow saw Ogden as a very important city in the western U.S. and bought the hotel in 1926, which he had raised. On the foundation of the former Reed Hotel, he built an 11-story hotel and named it after himself, the Bigelow Hotel. The new structure was meant to be more modern and specifically fireproof. Hodgson and McClenahan drew up the plans, and it was built in the Italian Renaissance Revival style. The exterior is highly ornamental and covered in a terracotta finish. The Bigelow was meant to reflect the wealthy of the community in the early 20th century. The hotel boasted 5 private themed dining rooms, including the Shakespeare Room, which featured murals painted by LeConte Stewart, a Utah artist. Other themed rooms were the Florentine-style ballroom, English room with wood paneling based on Bromley Castle, an Arabian coffee shop, and a 2-story penthouse.
In 1928, the hotel hosted the Democratic National Convention. Leading up to this big event, Time magazine featured the Bigelow Hotel in their October 3, 1927 issue, which garnered the hotel national attention. In 1933, the hotel was sold to Mariner Eccles when Bigelow's bank failed after the 1929 stock market crash. The Eccles family renamed the hotel the Ben Lomond, after the mountains in the Highlands of Scotland. The family had emigrated to America from Scotland. Mariner served as chairman of the Federal Reserve during Franklin Roosevelt's presidency, and the Federal Reserve headquarters in D.C. bears the name Eccles.
He was a millionaire by the age of 22.
Wow.
Wow, where's your $1 million, Mort?
Maybe, if you paid me better. Crumpets and tuna fish in the can, a millionaire does not make.
Yeah. Times are tight, Mort. After World War II, highway construction ramped up and rail travel dwindled, so the town of Ogden was no longer a travel destination, and the hotel was affected financially. During this time, the Ben Lomond went against the tide of segregation in Salt Lake City and welcomed black celebrities like Louis Armstrong and Jackie Robinson to stay at the hotel.
There were gangsters at this hotel and plenty of booze running during Prohibition. There was a tunnel that ran underneath the hotel and traveled down 25th Street to various points in Ogden. The underground tunnel was used to smuggle alcohol, but also led to opium dens and gambling halls. Ooh, Ogden. Who would have ever thunk it?
Good grief.
The tunnels were eventually cemented shut by the city. In December of 1948, the hotel was caught up in a prostitution scandal. Several businesses on the same street had been closed because prostitution had been found going on inside. I'm shocked that gambling is going on in this establishment. A prostitute and what the Ogden Standard Examiner referred to as her hustler were arrested at the Ben Lomond during a raid. Closing the hotel was discussed at a commission meeting at that time.
After the hotel was no longer profitable, the Eccles family sold the property in the 1960s. After the sale, some of the hotel was occupied as county offices, but the building soon fell into disrepair. In the 1980s, the hotel was renovated and much of the original grandeur was kept intact, including the chandeliers in the ballroom, the ornate ceilings, and the marble floors. The 350 rooms in the hotel were converted into a 120-suite condo hotel. The hotel returned to its original name of Bigelow in 2017. In 2019, the hotel was converted into an apartment complex. In May 2024, the Bigelow-Ben Lomond reopened its event space with an evening of nostalgia and elegance. The renovation not only included the grand ballroom, but the meeting rooms as well.
Yeah, so this is basically like you're living in a hotel, kind of. And it has a lot of the original. When you walk into the lobby, it's like you're walking into the lobby of a grand hotel, and yet you're going into your apartment building, which would be quite different, I would say, because I've never really had much of a lobby when I've lived in apartments or whatever. It's pretty much just a little hallway with your mailboxes and stuff. There are tales of strange occurrences at the hotel, and these could possibly be attributed to the fact that several bizarre and gruesome deaths, including many suicides, have happened at the Bigelow-Ben Lomond. The Bigelow embraces their haunted reputation and offers ghost tours. Apparently, the 11th floor is the most active, and guests can rent the Bigelow famous 1102 on Airbnb. And I know, because I went there and looked it up, and sure enough, you can. And apparently, the host is a very good host. Everybody really enjoys their stay. The stories of deaths on this floor are not substantiated and could just be legends. This first story involves rooms 1101 and 1102. A woman was spending her honeymoon at the hotel and was staying in room 1102. During her stay, she drowned in the bathtub. And how does somebody drown in the bathtub unless you have something else going on, like you were drinking or drugs, slipped and fell? After her death, her adult son came to the hotel to collect her belongings. He checked himself into room 1101. This was the room next to where his mother had died. The son was so distraught over his mother's death that he took his own life. Guests who have stayed in rooms 1101 and 1102 have reported water in the tub running all on its own. Some report that they've been pushed by an unseen force. Others report hearing disembodied voices and seeing apparitions. The other story involves room 1106, which was the scene of another death. A woman was living in that room while she awaited her son's return from fighting during World War II. She received word that he had been killed in action, and she died either from natural causes or a broken heart.
On March 9, 1929, the hotel hosted the Utah Canners Association annual convention. One of the convention attendees, Dan Rowland, invited some friends up to his room for drinks. Earlier, he had met another man staying at the hotel named Edward Spellman and invited him to the room as well. One of the women in the group had too much to drink and opted to stay in the room to lie down when the group decided to go down to the ballroom for dancing. When Rowland returned to his room later that night, he found Spellman attacking the woman. Rowland tried dragging Spellman down to the lobby, and the two started fighting in the hallway. Rowland struck Spellman on the chin, causing him to fall back. He hit his head on the wall and died instantly. Rowland was charged with Spellman's murder, but was later acquitted when it was discovered that Spellman died from a ruptured artery and not the blow to his head.
And apparently when detectives arrived, they found Edward Spellman lying dead in front of room 1219, so they carried his body into room 1215, as it was vacant at that time. So this would be the 12th floor that you would have hauntings going on with that. And now a little break for a word about one of our sponsors. In another bizarre story, in 1939, two young men came to the hotel by cab, argued with the bellman outside the hotel, and took the elevator to the top floor. The owner of the hotel felt there was something odd about these gentlemen, so she followed them to the top floor and brought them back down to the lobby. She looked around for some help, and the two men ran off again, returning to the top floor, where they jumped out of a window at the end of a hallway to their deaths. Another suicide occurred around noon on July 16, 1951. Donna Anderson, a local teacher for 20 years, leapt to her death from a 9th-story window. A Deseret News article reported that Anderson's friend, Leora Macbeth, discovered her with her wrist slashed in her 9th-floor suite. Anderson was still conscious, and she ran past her friend and jumped out of the suite's north-facing window. Anderson had recently been in ill health, and she had been nervous on the morning of her death. Henry Topping Jr. was a night clerk at the Ben Lomond Hotel. On August 24th, in 1976, a 15-year-old man named Johnny Perez entered the hotel in an attempt to rob the hotel. Perez ended up stabbing Topping 44 times, killing the man. That sounds like more than a robbery.
What in the world? Yeah.
That's not a robbery. A jury of 11 men and 1 woman found him guilty of first-degree murder, which again does not sound like robbery to me. Topping is believed to haunt the hotel. Is he the reason for the cold spots in the lobby?
Now remember, there was a hotel on this spot before the Ben Lomond Hotel. The Reed Hotel has its own stories to tell that could very well be contributing to the haunting activity. 3 days before the hotel opened, the first death occurred. The brother of the proprietor had just moved to the area because he had tuberculosis, and he was staying in a room at the Reed. He succumbed to the disease on June 30th, 1891. A woman named Helen Van Ellen was staying at the Reed Hotel in 1902 with her husband. She had suffered from various ailments for a number of years. Her husband left for work, and she shot and killed herself. She was only 38 years old. The couple had been staying in an apartment on the 3rd floor when she shot herself. A security guard recalled an incident in the 3rd floor hallway where a door handle began to shake violently as he passed her room. Upon further inspection, he found the room unoccupied. The security guard also said that the staff receives noise complaints and movement from empty rooms and/or hallways at least once a week. On September 26, 1921, a newly hired cook named Asugi Nakano was waiting for the freight elevator. The doors opened and he stepped in, unaware that the car was not there, and he fell 3 stories down the elevator shaft to his death.
This is why you look before you leap, I guess, as they say. But yeah, all of those happened in the Reed Hotel before the Ben Lomond was built. And then you had all these other suicides after that, too, that were in the Ben Lomond or the Bigelow. Just crazy. The general activity that was reported included phone calls to the lobby originating from rooms on the 11th floor that were unoccupied. The scent of old perfume was smelled, and the elevator went up and down with no one inside, usually stopping on the 10th or 11th floor. The night staff of the hotel reported the elevator doors in the lobby opening on their own. In the comments of a blog post on the website for writer Steve Sims, a reader named Joanna Zobel writes of her experiences at the hotel. My husband and I stayed last February and experienced some creepy things. While talking to the front desk, I noticed the elevator doors opening and then closing and going to the 5th floor, then back down to open again while no one was in it. We also smelled a faint scent of perfume inside. At night, while I was sleeping, I woke up thinking my son was pulling my arm, talking to me, and I saw some kind of shape like a man wearing a hat bent over me, and we also captured an orb flying across my husband's face in a photo. Ooh, is it the Hat Man?
The venue events manager, Cornell Thomas, told the Standard Examiner in November 2024 that a self-described medium rented room 1102, and she reported a presence in the room. She asked Thomas, quote, "Was there some kind of loud noise yesterday? The lady is saying that she didn't really like the loud noises," end quote. Thomas then recalled that the day before, a smoke alarm had been chirping in the room and subsequently was removed for a battery change. Thomas also said that there have been reports of animals becoming fixated on walls and barking at the corners of rooms.
IllPrice5994 wrote on Reddit, "I just want to say that I used to drive a minor league baseball team around, and going to Ogden was one of the games during the season. The first time we stayed at the hotel, I heard some of the coaches and players saying, 'Oh great, here we go again.' I didn't understand, so I asked them what they meant. They told me that the Bigelow Hotel was haunted and gave me the backstory of the suicide, accidental deaths, paranormal activities from the son and mother on the 11th floor. I didn't think much of it and took it with a grain of salt. After 3 a.m., I was woke up to pressure on my arm, but I thought maybe I just imagined it, so this is like that other person describing the same thing. The next morning, I had finger mark bruises on my left arm and figured I must have grabbed my arm and squeezed it while I slept. That hard and you didn't wake yourself up? The only logical conclusion, right? Except the finger patterns would have caused me to reach around the outside of my arm and press down like I was standing over me, which would be extremely awkward. Yeah, there's just like no way to do that. Why would I do that rather than just grab my arm and squeeze while I was sleeping? And why would you be grabbing your arm and squeezing anyway?" The bruises eventually went away, of course, and I never said anything to anyone other than my wife and kids. The next year, when we went there for the baseball team, I asked him if I could stay in room 1101. Oh, you really want to get some stuff going on, huh? The person at the desk laughed and said, "Sure, your funeral." Again, at 3:24 a.m., I woke up with my arm hurting and hearing strange sounds from outside my room. I've got to admit, I was kind of freaked out. The baseball players that were from Puerto Rico refused to stay at the hotel this time, which in retrospect was probably a very wise decision. They even said they would sleep on the bus, but got a different hotel nearby. So they'd rather sleep in the bus than in the hotel. That's how bad. I had worse bruising, but the same finger marks on my arm, and whenever I rode in the elevator, something just didn't feel right. Like a heaviness or presence. It definitely feels like the movie The Shining looks. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that is what it feels like in there. No, I get it. If it feels like how a movie looks, it's that creep factor. Our friend Jennifer Jones wrote the book Ghosts of Ogden, Brigham City, and Logan, and she actually used to do ghost tours in Ogden. They've now moved over. I think she's in Pennsylvania now, so now she's doing a lot of haunted East Coast stuff, kind of like what we ended up doing, coming here from the West. And she writes, "I've stayed at the hotel and had my own unusual experience with the elevator. My daughter and I were in the lobby waiting for the elevator to take us to the 6th floor where our room was. We got in the elevator and were the only guests in the elevator at the time. I pressed the button for the 6th floor, the button lit up, the doors closed, and the elevator began to ascend. We got to the 6th floor, but the elevator kept going. It then stopped at the 10th floor, the doors opened. I really expected to see someone standing there waiting for the elevator, but no one was there. The hallway was completely empty. Knowing the history of the hotel, I stepped out into the hallway and was surprised not only to see no one in the area, but also that it seemed to be quiet. Too quiet. It sounds weird, but after you've been investigating the paranormal for a few years, you become familiar with the lack of expected noise. There were no housekeeping cards, no sounds coming from the rooms on that floor. It was completely still. I got back into the elevator and again pressed the button for the 6th floor. We continued on our way. Could it have been just a weird mechanical issue? Most definitely, I thought. It's an old elevator, but after doing more research on the hotel's history, I'm not so sure.
So much death has happened on this spot. Is there a reason why? Fortunately, no one has described any dark experiences with these unseen entities.
As long as you don't think getting your arm grabbed in the middle of the night is
And
dark.
bruised. Yeah. Have these deaths led to strange happenings? Have guests decided to remain here, even after death? Is the Bigelow-Ben Lomond Hotel haunted?
That is for you to decide. Well, if you stayed there before it became apartments, let us know, or if you're actually living there, let us know. I'd love to talk to some of the people who live there because I would imagine they'd have even more experiences than hotel guests because they're there all the time. Be very interesting to find out.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for joining us for this Redux. I've been your host, Diane.
And this has been Kelly.
You take care now.
Bye-bye.
We are back on. Coming to you live from 56.
Check.
Coming live from WFLOA. That's too many letters. Hello, you spectacular people. Welcome. What are we doing?
Redux?
Yes, that's what we're doing.
Between your burps?
I'm like, we just got done recording a regular episode, so I'm like, wait, what am I doing?
I watch your eyes roll up into your head as you were trying to think.
I was having a seizure. It happens when I think.
Do you smell burning toast?
I do. Kelly, on this episode, we're going back to another one that we bid back in.
Gonna start rapping or something?
Yeah. Ba-ba-ba-boo. Many times we walk about native burial. We walk about. We just walk about.
We walk about the native burials too, but what we want to do right now is talk about them.
Oh, okay.
And it was renamed Brownsville after Captain James Brown, who came to get down. Huh. Good guy, getting hot tub. Huh.
You and your James Brown. I think you actually are conjuring him or something.
No.
Are you possessed?
Actually, one of the owners that we were working on yesterday for our practice stuff, his name was James Brown. I was so tempted to say it in class.
Oh, well, probably would have broken up any monotony that she had going on if all of a sudden Kelly breaks into her James Brown impression.